Hey, what's up, guys? David Huffaker here, just coming with you with a little bit more of the market industry news. And so we're getting into the summer months. School is out and starting to see some of the effects of the higher interest rates starting to hit the market. So I know a lot of us are talking, continuing to speak about what's going on in the market. What are we seeing? And what are the experts kind of predicting? Had a chance to speak for the Keller Williams Young Professionals at their summit last week, and we were talking about how to recognize a shift, how to survive a shift, and how to thrive through a shift. So I just want to touch base on some of the things going on in the market right now. So the news that we track, or the stats that we track, are new listings on the market, new coming soons and pendings, coming soons and holds. We also track the number of new pendings, the number of closed last week, the days on market, the average sales price. And then we also look at some trends as far as what's going up and what's going down. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right, so just taking a look at this was Memorial Day weekend, and so always expect to see a drop in total active listings there. This is over the last few days, right? And so, over the last few weeks, all the way going back to Easter. And so as you look at it, you kind of start to evaluate the information. You can see, as expected, with the the spring selling months, the summer selling months, active listings expecting to go up. So nothing really alarming there. I think it's interesting, up to 1,100 new homes hitting the market last week, about 530 coming soon or in hold status. So that number's held pretty true, maybe slightly elevated over the last few days, over the last few weeks. New listings in the last 7 days. So you can see them as they're hitting the market. Again, total active listings over here, new listings hitting. So you can see majority of the homes are selling, some of them carrying through week to week. Now, new pendings, I do think interesting as you see new pendings. And so this is where I would say we're starting to see the effects of those interest rate hikes that we experienced back in April or May, starting to really play out as far as what's pending on the market. So again, last week, 1,122 active listings hitting the market. New pendings 808. Again, seeing that with the being the end of the month, also being a holiday week, that may show up differently, but you can definitely see the downward trend in pendings over the last several weeks. And so you'll also notice the week following Easter, the pendings again drop, and then again down here. So the week following Memorial Day, the pendings drop. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. We're going to have a holiday coming up with the 4th of July here in just a few weeks. So total closed. So guys, these are the numbers that we're tracking on a weekly basis just to have a pulse of the market. And then again, you can see, I think, number of price reductions, again, going up over that same time period. Number of expired, you see a really big spike last week with probably being the end of May, seeing homes expire at the end of the month. You don't necessarily see it throughout the middle of the month as much. The number of withdrawals kind of staying flat, average days on market. We look at these on a monthly basis. And so again, average sales price still creeping up. So some of the data that people might say that home prices are coming down, you can actually say average sales price in Middle Tennessee in the last 2 months is up about 16,000. So this is for all of our MLS in Middle Tennessee. Wherever you're at, your local MLS should be able to provide it to you. And so you can kind of see here the trends on those, right? And so the thing that we're keeping a close eye on is going to be right here in the new listings, pendings, and closed. Closed being a lag measure, so don't look at it as closely. But when I see this blue tick going up and the red trend going down, you can kind of see that inverse, right? What we're looking for, and just keeping an eye on it. If those continue to widen from each other or separate from each other, would show a more balancing market, which is kind of what we're expecting to do. All right, so what does all that mean? Ultimately, I think that there's a lot going on, a lot of experts out there. We talked about last week in the past, the housing market being more closely tied to the job market than it is to interest rates. And found an Inman article I thought was pretty interesting over the weekend as well, that again suggested from some chief economists in the real estate industry that holds true. And so two of the things I think that what I found out of that, they said that a crash is typically a result of one of two things. It's either a result of really loose lending practices, which we do not see in our market right now. In fact, it's more difficult now to get a loan probably than it has been as we're kind of getting into that. And so you saw that back in the early 2000s with looser credit. And so it doesn't feel like that now, right? We know lenders are being responsible. There's more regulation in the industry. And so you guys are experiencing that as you're working with buyers. The other thing that can cause a crash is if the economy just really stinks. However, if you look at the core fundamentals of the economy, we've kind of talked about this in the past. Yeah, so I mean, we can look at a couple of the slides as far as the state of the industry. Unemployment being really down, right? If you look right here, just unemployment's at its lowest level because it really probably doesn't get below 4%, 3.5, 4%. Those are people that are moving jobs, and that's always going to be going on. There's actually a deficit of people of labor. So look at this labor shortage of probably they're saying 2 to 3 million jobs are not being filled. And so you look at the economy overall and go, that's not a sign of a weak economy when we're having trouble finding enough people to do the work. There's plenty of work to be done, right? And so GDP, again, the other thing, expected to see it pretty much in line with where we want to see it in Q2. Those will be released soon. So kind of just watching that. Inflation being the one that everyone's most concerned about, because when we look at the economy overall, not seeing a whole lot that would indicate a market crash. And so we just want to help educate the consumers on why there might not be a market crash, and really just helping understand that while inflation is up, we probably land inflation somewhere around 6% by the end of the year, still higher than where we want it to be. But you also see interest rates probably landing somewhere around the 6% mark by the end of the year. Some people will the Chicken Little group will say that it will be closer to I don't know 7 or 8% maybe. And then the government right now is trying to slow down spending enough to pull back inflation without totally tanking the market, and that's challenging, right? They're trying to control those measures. So what they're calling, quote unquote, a soft landing would be that they raise rates enough, or they make lending or borrowing a little bit more painful, so that some people pull back on spending, which then pulls back on demand, which then helps level out supply. And this isn't just in the housing market, this is in all markets. And so that's the intention of what they're trying to do. The challenge is, in the history of the government, they never get it right. And so they're either going to overshoot it or undershoot it. Most would agree that right now, because they're so concerned about inflation, they're probably going to overshoot it in an attempt to try to make sure that inflation gets taken care of, because we don't want that to get out of hand. And the biggest impact that this is having is on the generations of the people who really just don't have the 15 or 20 or 25% to put down, who don't have the money to be able to buy at the prices. And so that's probably the biggest concern for our industry, is the gap in the availability and affordability, because those that are in their homes don't necessarily want to sell it to go pay more money for a similar home at a higher interest rate. And then those entering the market that would free those up will slow down because of the cost of money and because of the strict lending terms and the inability of just cheap money out there. And so when you couple those together, it's going to, again, squeeze supply so that there's not a whole lot of supply on the market. We're going to need to rely on new construction to be able to pull us out of this over the next 5 to 10 years of this supply deficit. But that's a long time, and just going to need to be able to find the land, get the municipalities to approve it, and again, get affordable homes on the market, which again is a strain with the supply and the labor shortage. So you see this kind of unprecedented mixture of things going on that's going to make it really challenging, which again, none of that suggests that it would drive prices down. If anything, it will drive prices up. I don't think that the market crashes. I think we do see a slowing, just from simply there won't be as many homes available to sell in the short term. And so we're going to see less homes sold, which is going to feel like a pullback to those of us in the industry. But still, even at the worst of times, in 2008, 2009, 2010, over 4 million homes sold. We expect this year probably to be somewhere in the low 5 million range. And at the peak, you're usually talking about a 6 million. So 5 million homes is enough for all of us that want to go out there and hustle to make a great living. So guys, go out there and get your unfair share. Please stay up to date on what's going on in the market so that you can help be the economist of choice and help your consumers win. Take care, guys.